Oh, sorry. Can everybody please put yourselves on mute?
That tells
Is everybody on mute? Let me see. I can do it down here. Okay. Thank you for bearing with me while I kind of put my low tech skills on display. But I'm just muting everyone.
get this porch
Just to make
cleaned
sure
up.
we're all
I
quiet.
didn't make this mess.
Oh, okay. Someone mute. Okay. Mute. Okay. Thank you for your patience with my low tech skills. Okay, I really appreciate that. Oh, all right. Breakthrough contacts. I don't heal people. I'm going to share my wisdom so you can learn how to heal yourself, and then you have that in your toolbox forever. And you can share that with all your friends and family. Learning how to operate your soul is something that in a healthy family you learn from the mother. A lot of it from the mother. It's the internal work. It's the forgiveness, the compassion, the intuition, the creativity, and all of that right brain feminine work.
There's things to do over
But
here.
a lot of us didn't have that in our childhood, and so we have to learn to do it ourselves as adults. It's called the reparenting process, and that's what I'm going through today. I'm kind of sharing the wisdom I gained from reparenting myself. Please put yourself on mute so that we can't hear you. I'm trying to get to everyone as they come in. Okay, okay. All right. So please put this in the chat, true or false. I am done circling the same internal patterns, the same problems, and I'm ready to resolve them. And type true if that's
There's
you.
nothing.
Okay, I'm
Still,
gonna pull up the chat here and we could see. Okay, let me pull up. Can I pull up the chat? Oh, yeah. True, true. Everybody's putting true. Okay, yay. Because if you put true, this training is for you. Okay. All right, so before we go any further, why you can trust this work. I did it myself first. I went from a suicide attempt to pulling out all my shamanic gifts to experiencing enlightenment in just 5 years. It was a ride, it was a roller coaster ride. I'm glad I did it. And I experienced enlightenment the first time on March of 2024, which is about 2 years ago. And now I go in and out of enlightenment, which is an emotion, and I had to learn that. Even though I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies, speak Chinese, lived in Chinese Buddhist monasteries, no one ever taught me that enlightenment is an emotion. I was like, I had to go learn that myself after I experienced it the first time. But I take a multidisciplinary trauma approach. I rely on psychology, laws of physics, neurology, cardiology, shamanism, my intuition, mysticism. Because when something's true, it's true in multiple places. And here's an example. Wisdom says the universe is a mirror, showing us ourselves in every moment as a constant feedback loop for self improvement. Knowledge says we attract what we are through energetic resonance, meaning a vibrational match. So when I gave that example of when you perceive selfishness or beauty outside of yourself, that is a vibrational match with your soul. So that's how you see yourself. Okay? And that is one of the main reasons therapy is hard because you're relying on the therapist to see into you, but the universe is a mirror, which there's the conundrum with therapy. And I'm not saying no therapy has ever worked, of course it has. But we have a plethora of therapists right now and psychologists. At the same time, we have a mental health crisis. So this is the process that I learned from and I was successful with. So let's keep going. Oh, more people, yay. Okay. So my core insight, you are a soul operating a nervous system. And that nervous system, if it's calibrated for love, compassion, and enlightenment, then you sleep at night. Then you're calm. Then your relationships are happy because the universe is a mirror. When I hate myself, then the universe needs to mirror that back to me through relationships and experiences. And, hate is uncomfortable. So when I hate myself, I'm not sleeping at night. I'm not eating well. I'm not caring for myself. I'm putting other people before myself. I mean, I had a subconscious belief that I was the problem. I mean, the reason I attempted suicide is my intuition told me that my children would be better off with a dead mother than a live one. And that was right after I went to a therapy appointment, the first one, when my youngest daughter was in rehab for an eating disorder at 16 years old. I've been through it. I got 3 kids. My son has mild autism. My older daughter, had a lot of challenges too. And we're all healing from it now and we're way better off now. But I had to learn how to operate my soul so that my nervous system wasn't, wreaking havoc in my life constantly. And we're going to go over one field called epigenetics, epi meaning before genetics. And we're going to learn how it mirrors the Einstein quote: the field is a sole governing agency of the particle. And epi means the field and the particle meaning the body. And so we're going to learn how the field of epigenetics proved that less than 1% of our diseases come from our genetics. So over 99% of our diseases come from our soul, our energy field. And that we have control over, which is awesome news. Okay, so let's be honest about today. I'm going to share my multidisciplinary sources of wisdom and knowledge to heal from your trauma and recalibrate your nervous system for love, compassion, and enlightenment instead of fear, guilt, and shame. How to make that change. Then we're going to, while I'm talking, as you see, do a deep dive into how I healed from my childhood trauma. And I'll, share my stories, as appropriate to help you kind of see how this all works. Explain how to implement my self-love strategies into your life. And we'll go over, I think, 6 DIY techniques and revealing my recommendations for other DIY trauma healing techniques. And after all of that, if you'd like more help, at the end, we're going to go over how you can work with me personally. And, yes, I learned a tremendous amount on my own, but I also went to the help of, I saw a therapist a little bit after I attempted suicide, but mostly shamans, and then watching YouTube videos and, learning, as I can on my own. And that was most useful for me. So here are my 6 free DIY trauma healing techniques you will learn today. So the free ebook you already got, but we're going to go into that a little bit more and how that wisdom works and how to apply it to transforming your emotional wounds into personal wisdom. My recommendations for daily healing. My YouTube channel. I have a meditation and shamanic drumming video, and I have a ton of other videos about how to heal and how to see yourself. We're going to use Carl Jung's mirror exercise, which is why you need the mirror, and a Lakota, Native American, star feeding technique that Johns Hopkins studied, and it showed that technique healed people 6 times faster than talk therapy. And we're going to get into why. And then the last one, I can't see it because of this Zoom. Hang on a second. I can't see the last one. Recommendations from other professionals. I'm going to share the people that I lean on, like Dr. Andrew Huberman, Dr. Gabor Mate, all the doctors. I'm going to share, who I lean on for more insight into how to explain the process, how to, help other people with the process. Okay, so my multidisciplinary sources are here. My intuition, psychology, neuroscience. This thing is driving me crazy now at the bottom of my screen. I don't know how to fix it. Okay. Shamanism, laws of physics, cardiology, and you can read the list here. All right, let's keep going. My techie skills are getting in the way here. I don't understand why it's arguing with me. Okay, here's my book. So my first step in sharing my wisdom, I was called to write a book, and I started in 2024 after I experienced enlightenment. And I've always been super connected to Native Americans. And my mom always had a second name for me, which is Shenandoah. And Shenandoah is a Plains Native American name that means the Great Plains or daughter of the stars. And so when I came upon this Cherokee proverb, I made it the dedication of my book because my book is my inner heroine exploring feminine pain. Because I was raised in a traumatic childhood, that pushed me way into my masculine, repressing my femininity, and it stopped my ability to process my emotions. My mom was an alcoholic, my dad was a workaholic, so I didn't really understand what is a healthy woman. I had to reparent myself and kind of unearth my healthy femininity and learn how to surf the waves of life and process my emotions. And so this quote really helped me understand what is a healthy role for a woman, because women are designed for the inside work. We're the right brain, we're the compassion, the nurturing, the caretaking, the intuition, the creativity, the creation. We have wombs, right? But when we push women into their masculine and send them into the workforce, no one's at home doing that internal work, resulting in a mental health crisis. 40 to 60% of kids do not have a secure attachment to self, meaning their nervous system is calibrated for fear, guilt, and shame, so they avoid themselves. Do you see what I mean? You may have heard of an avoidant attachment style. But here's a dedication. A woman's highest calling is to lead a man to his soul, so as to unite him with source. A man's highest calling is to protect a woman, so she is free to walk the earth unharmed. And I was like, wow, that's, clear as day. Clear as day. Male role, female role. And here's my book. If you'd like to check it out, there's an electronic copy for $2.99. And what my book is I really started about 7 years ago. And then I go into the suicide attempt and healing from that. And then I attracted 6 men into my life. And those men were my mirror. Like if I'm flirting with a guy at yoga and he's not asking me out, then maybe I got something to work on, right? So I met the first guy at yoga, and then the second guy is Andrew Tate's best friend. Now, I didn't think of it when I reached out to him. My intuition just said, ask him your question. And so I did, and it turned out that it was 2 months before Andrew's takedown started in August of 2022. So I helped them both with my shamanic gifts. And then they didn't hire me for more, and the relationship ended. And then Andrew was put in solitary confinement, and I helped him in solitary confinement. And though that led me to the next 2 men who are both fire academy instructors, all leading me back to JC from my childhood. He's former FBI, currently the head of global security at GoDaddy. So this is why I focus on high achieving people. That's my jam. But these processes can work for everyone because I'm basically teaching you how to operate your soul. So if you'd like a deeper dive into my past and what I've been through, then my book is there for you. This is also part of my book, and this is what we're doing today. Even the box of emotional pain he left me with was a gift. I'm crying because I wrote this in the part of my book where I talk about JC. I call him Jared in the book. When I wrote the book, I was not aware that I'm the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. I hadn't accepted everything that I had been shown yet. I had to get the book out, and then that was my next job. So the process of turning those wounds into wisdom is the gift he left me with. Because if I didn't have all those wounds, I wouldn't have done all the work to pull out all of that wisdom. And what I had to accept is that the depth of our wounds determines the height of our wisdom. And if I want Mount Everest-sized wisdom, I have to take on Mount Everest-sized wounds, and I did. And I go into a deep dive of that on my website, so if you want to check out more on what the history between me and JC, his name is Jason Colvin. You can check that out on my website under the origin story. So, old shamanic wisdom says, when a person with anxiety went to the shaman, he would ask, when was the last time you danced? You experienced joy. You had happiness in your heart. And that wisdom was speaking to your nervous system is calibrated for fear, guilt, and shame, which is why you have anxiety. Go recalibrate your nervous system. That's really what this wisdom is saying. And I understand they didn't use that terminology, but old shamanic wisdom comes from thousands of years ago before we had all of that
Hi,
knowledge.
Bernie.
But
How you
can you
doing?
guys mute yourselves,
Is it
please?
okay?
Can you guys mute yourselves? I can't. I
You
don't.
can't get your lunch ready.
Can you guys mute yourselves, please?
Have your lunch.
Oh, I cannot see the person that's muted. Mute. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with the laws of physics. All the men in my family are engineers, so I need to know how it works. And the Einstein quote is like my driving, it gives me so much momentum. The field is the sole governing agency of the particle. The field meaning the energy field. And physicists have proven that we all have energy fields. And the particle is the body. So we're going to start with a Joe Dispenza a clip. And Dr. Joe Dispenza is a neuroscientist who specializes in trauma healing. So he's one of the experts I highly recommend you can dive into if you want more information, from, I had to stop sharing and share a different tab. Okay. Oh, wait, hang on. Oh, no, here we are. Okay. Oh, no. There. Okay. Here we go. Here's this video. He's explaining the Einstein quote.
Einstein said the field, the wave, the energy is the sole governing agency of the particle. Energy controls matter. He didn't say the particle controls the particle. He said the field controls the particle. If you change the information in the field, can you change the projection, the particle in three-dimensional reality? This is a holographic universe. So if the quantum field is an invisible field of energy that exists beyond our senses, beyond our body, our environment, and time, and the only way we are going to connect to it is take all of our attention off our body, all of our attention off the environment. What's the environment made of? People, objects, things, places, and take all of your attention off of linear time, the predictable future and the familiar past, and find the sweet spot of the generous present moment. That's the unknown. That's the door. That's the moment you become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, no time. That is the moment you are pure consciousness. And that is the moment you're walking through the door to the quantum field.
So what he's explaining here is that when you stop looking outside of yourself for answers and you go back to source, which is your soul, the consciousness, there's where you can implement change. And this is why I focus on how to operate your soul, how to recalibrate your soul for love, compassion, and enlightenment. Is that okay? This is the next one. Okay. So the next piece of the next doctor we're getting to is Dr. David R. Hawkins. And he has the map of consciousness. And I say, I relied on this so much after I experienced enlightenment the first time, and this is what happened. So I didn't know when it was going to happen, but in 2021, my intuition told me I would experience enlightenment with a different man. I'm like, wait, what? There's another man? Because I was still with the first guy in my book. Okay, so I experienced enlightenment when I was talking to the fifth guy in my book, the fire captain. And so I remember I went home and I sat in my chair and I started vibrating really high, and I wasn't hungry and I wasn't thirsty and I barely slept. And the next morning I heard enlightenment, enlightenment, enlightenment. I'm like, okay, I'm at that level. Oh my gosh. But I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies, and no one ever taught me that. And so first I experienced profound wisdom, and then I was shown like catastrophic fears, because enlightenment, as you see here, vibrates between 700 and 1,000 hertz. That's why I was like zzz for 3 days and couldn't sleep, and I lost 12 pounds, even though I was going to hot yoga 6 days a week and was in great shape. Like, that's how impactful it was. But that's how much trauma I had and how much help I needed, seeing the wisdom, like what's the problem inside of me, and then seeing my catastrophic fears. And what this first enlightenment experience showed me is the imbalance between divine masculine and divine feminine. So when we ascribe creation to God, you could call it, divine masculine, then feminine is repressed. And then we're out of balance. And when feminine's repressed, the emotional work isn't happening. And emotional intimacy is where mental health is created and sustained. So then, we lose emotional health, we lose our mental health. And so that's what I see has happened in the West. But if we restore divine feminine, next to divine masculine, and give her credit for creation and him for execution or orchestration, and we model that in the home, then we have a healthy emotional center, and then she's taking care of her man, and we have a healthy provider and protector. And that's how, we can restore health to our families.
Give credit
So,
for
if you could please mute yourself, I appreciate it. I'll mute, okay. So because that happened and I lost 12 pounds, I didn't know, a lot happened. My kids were super concerned. Mom, do you need to go to a mental hospital? Mom, go to the doctor. One time they called the police just to Carrie, are you sure you're okay? And I had to go figure out what is enlightenment, even though I have a master's degree in it. Because I always thought, that's otherworldly. I had no idea enlightenment is part of our natural, healthy emotional range. So shame, you see, vibrates at 20 hertz. 70, and so I can't see all these words right now, but here we go. Fear is 100 hertz. Well, I previously referenced epigenetics, right? Well, that field has shown that cancer, viruses, bacteria, all vibrate below 100 hertz. But if you're constantly at 500 to 1,000 hertz, like most of your time is spent up here, then the 100 hertz things inside of your body, because the field is the sole governing agency of the particle, right? They can't survive. I haven't been sick in 5-6 years. I went to hot yoga during COVID and I never got sick because I'm more up here in these higher vibrating emotions. And so that's what we're here to learn, how you can do that today. And so here is the first physics experiment I'm going to show you. And this is the universe is a mirror. And it starts to talk about how we live in a holographic universe, that our universe is a projection from our hearts so that we can see ourselves. So let's look at this physics experiment, and I'm going to explain how this works. So when two energies vibrate at the same frequency, that's what pulls our perception. So when I see selfishness outside of myself, and let's say selfishness vibrates at 40 hertz, then that's showing me the 40 hertz inside of myself. But they have to resonate at the same frequency to move each other and to draw our perception or our attention. And this physics experiment shows that. Oh, I missed someone else. So let's see how this works. So 512 and 440, nothing's moving. There's no resonance. There's no connection. There's no quantum entanglement. But 440 and 440, now we have the movement. There's the resonance. There's the vibrating at the same energy, and that's how you know. And so, I don't know if you ever heard of Rumi. He was a 13th century Sufi philosopher. He relied on wisdom. He said, one of his quotes is, "What you seek seeks you." And that is the physics experiment showing it. He was talking quantum physics, but he was relying on the wisdom because we didn't have the quantum physics in the 13th century. And so I look at his quotes now, I'm like, wow, that man was aware. So Rumi is another really great one to rely on. Okay, cardiology and neuroscience. And this is where when I found this a few weeks ago, I was so excited because it really helped me understand the universe as a mirror. So, and what this research shows in a second is that the heart is actually a vortex, like a black hole, and that the heart operates as a vortex and not a pump. And we're going to get into that in a second. But the heart invites blood into motion. Through coordinated twists and releases, it creates an energetic vortex. But we're also going to see in a fetus or an embryo that blood flows in a spiral, before the heart is even formed, right? So, like Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. I mean, how does blood flow without a heart? I would say is definitely a secret of the universe. And we're going to see a video about how that works in a minute. So blood naturally flows in a spiral, and spiral systems adapt where linear systems break. So you see naturally a lot of spirals in the universe, in the structure, because that structure is far more resilient. And they allow movement without rupture. Okay? It is the most energy efficient and turbulent reducing way to move matter. Heart coherence equals a regulated nervous system, okay? So we have souls. We always hear heart and soul, right? So we have our soul, and there's emotions. Our souls communicate via emotions, and that comes out of our heart, and our heart's a vortex, throwing that energy out so that we can see ourselves, okay? And the heart has a far more complex neurological system than the brain. And the heart sends about 90% more signals to the brain than the other way around. I was like, that's like the heart is the feminine, the emotion, and the communication, which is feminine, and the brain is the execution, there's the masculine. But when we shut down the heart, we overactivate the brain. And then we have all these ideas that we think will work. Well, maybe that'll work, maybe that'll work, maybe that'll work. Well, your soul has already figured everything out because your soul houses all of the wisdom and all of the knowledge in the universe. I'm going to say that again. Your soul houses all the wisdom and all the knowledge in the universe, and it's up to you to unveil it through your heart. So, something else I learned when I was studying about enlightenment is how souls communicate. The process is called morphic resonance, and here's a prime example. So I think it was the 1940s. Men were trying to run the mile in under 4 minutes. And then finally one guy figured it out. And then within the next year, 500 more men did it. So they studied that phenomenon. And so when physicists proved that we all have energy bodies, they also saw that our energy bodies all communicate through our heart spaces. And when you experience enlightenment, then your soul opens up attractor energy cells to influence all of mankind. And so our hearts are all constantly communicating. So when I experience enlightenment, every other soul benefits. So when that guy figured it out, soul-to-soul communication, other people were able to do it. Here's other kind of examples of listening to yourself and helping yourself with that kind of internal insight is, we see bears climbing a tree a day before a Category 5 hurricane. I saw a picture of 5 bears in one tree, okay? So they live. And then humans who overactivate their brain and underactivate their heart, I can survive, I'm on the ocean, I can do it. And then they get killed. So when we all learn that we focus, like we have an internal locus of control. Our soul is the energy field is the soul governing agency of the particle, right? When we acknowledge that, the 5D comes before the 3D, the 5D is the feminine, right? And the 3D is the masculine. One way that's mirrored is, women used to drop their handkerchief, surrender. That's the feminine, is the surrender to the emotions, and the masculine acts. So when something's true, it's true in multiple places, right? Okay, so neuroscience and psychology. Let me bring up, hang on a second, let's watch those videos about how the heart is a vortex. Okay.
Let me just read this because I think it's actually probably one of the best descriptions of the heart that I've ever run across. They taught you the heart was just a glorified meat pump, that it squeezes and pushes blood like some crude mechanical device, a hydraulic engine made of flesh. That is what they want you to believe, because if you buy into that primitive lie, you never ask deeper questions. But it is false. It has always been false. And the real science proves it. Dr. Francesco Torrenguas, a Spanish cardiac researcher, discovered what the textbooks refused to acknowledge that the heart is not a pump. He dissected thousands of hearts and found that the heart is a single continuous muscle band folded into a spiral. He proved that the heart works like a vortex generator, creating suction and torque, not pressure. He called it the helical ventricular myocardial band, and it changes everything. The real movement of the blood comes from pressure differentials, electromagnetic flow, and coherent resonance. The blood spirals naturally. It need not be forced through miles of arteries and capillaries. The so-called pump is not strong enough to push thick fluid through 60,000 miles of tubing. That is basic physics. That lie was dead on arrival. Here is the truth. Blood moves before the heart forms in the embryo. That is, by the way, a documented fact. It flows via frequency, resonance, and electric charge. The body is a field, not a factory. Your heart creates a toroidal electromagnetic field that radiates 6 meters from the body. This field syncs with the earth, the sun, and every living being around you. It is a resonator, a tuner, a conductor. It aligns the rhythm of your cells. It feels, it remembers, it emits, and it responds to emotion, thought, light, sound, and breath. When you feel love, grief, fear, or peace, your heart transmits it. It is the central frequency modulator of your biology, not a pump. And the institutions know this. The Heart Math Institute has measured these fields for decades. They know the heart has more neuronal cells than parts of the brain. They know it is a second brain. They know coherence in the heart transforms the entire nervous system. So why are they still teaching children a 400-year-old guess from William Harvey that has never been updated?
Okay, now we're going to watch the video because that explained how the heart's a vortex and how the blood flows, and then it brought up the fetus, right? Well, luckily last week on Instagram, I was shown a video of how the heart cells form, synchronize, and then come together. So I thought I'd share that because I just find that to be absolutely fascinating. So what that's showing us is long before your heart ever beat, thousands of cardiac cells made a silent decision. There was no pulse, there was no rhythm, no sound. In the earliest stages of development, individual heart cells begin firing electrical signals on their own. Then something remarkable happens. They synchronize. The field is the sole governing agency of the particle. Separate impulses align into one coordinated electrical wave, and that wave triggers the first contraction, the first heartbeat, the beginning of a rhythm that can last a lifetime. And I just, wow. More people, okay. All right, let's get back to the presentation, and then, Dr. Huberman, let's go to him. So, here, I'll make this bigger for a second. So I love Dr. Andrew Huberman. He's a neuroscientist and he's all over YouTube, and you can learn a lot from him about how to calibrate your nervous system. But this is, we're going to use Carl Jung. I say he's my favorite psychologist. He is Swiss German, like my maiden name, and his whole family was psychic like me. I'm like, okay, there we go. That's why we resonate. All right, so his quote is, "There is no light without shadow, and no psychic wholeness without imperfection. To round itself out, life calls not for perfection, but for completeness. For this, the thorn in the flesh is needed, the suffering of defects without which there is no progress and no ascent. It's been my experience that when my heart was closed and I only relied on my brain, I sought perfection. When my heart is open, my heart seeks completeness, unity, recalling parts of myself back that I had given away. I mean, I was putting everyone before myself, and so I never took care of myself because I had, in my shadow, in my subconscious, I had a lie that I'm the problem from my childhood. That's what I learned when I got punished for being myself and speaking my truth. My mom was an alcoholic. My dad was a workaholic. They got divorced when I was 6. And through my healing journey, I had a very traumatic childhood with JC, and I repressed all of that in my womb, in my sacral chakra, in my hips, which is where my creation is, my value is as a woman, which so many women have hip and like leg pain now and lower back tightness because I had so much pain there that I didn't know how to process it. It was a nightmare for me, like trying to take care of 3 kids with debilitating lower back pain. Like I couldn't stand in the kitchen for more than 3 or 4 minutes. How do I cook? How do I clean? How do I do all that? Okay, let me find Dr. Huberman. Oh, here he is. Okay, and so he talks about cancel culture, but he's really talking about the same thing that I am. And Dr. Joe Dispenza did. When we focus on the outside and changing the outside as a way of like addressing the inside, that is not a holographic universe. That's not how reality works, right? So we project who we are and what our energy field is onto the quantum field and see what we resonate with, what we're a vibrational match with, and then that shows us ourselves. Like you hear so many women saying, why are all men narcissists? I'm like, okay, girlfriend, all the men you attract are narcissists. Like I used to attract narcissists and men with a sex addiction and hugely avoid it. You know, I mean, Andrew Tate is in the lineup. Like, what do you want me to say, right? I'm just, that's all I need to say. So, but when we teach people that to cancel things outside of ourselves, to handle the emotions inside of ourselves, we're not helping anybody. We're just continuing the problem, right? But when we teach people that they have to learn how to calibrate their nervous system so they arrive at conversations calm and have an emotional maturity, then we don't need to cancel anything outside of ourselves. But let's listen to what he has to say.
What we need to do is start to figure out how we can, I think, especially for the next generation of kids, how to teach them to regulate their nervous system so that they recognize that pulse of adrenaline as placing them in a compromised position. Like we have to leverage the idea that being able to hear and listen hinges on the ability to be calm. So therefore, the ability to be calm is crucial to hearing and hearing and listening is crucial to our advancement as individuals and as groups. The problem is everyone's been trying to do this backwards. They've said we all have to get along. We have to cancel culture. We all have to, listen to one another. And I think, again, we have to start from the inside. We have to teach it physiologically. Now, I don't have a master plan on how to do that, but one of the reasons I'm here and one of the reasons I'm, teaching neuroscience on Instagram and not just in my laboratory is until we can learn to regulate the self, I don't think we're going to get where we want to go as a culture. What we need to do.
And when you learn how to operate your soul, that's how you learn to regulate yourself. Yeah, it's the same process. But I love him. He's really wonderful. So here's some more neuroscience, right? Recalibrating the nervous system heals trauma by shifting the body from a chronic survival-based fight or flight, which is why you can't sleep. I'm over here, I'm over here, I'm over here. You're not grounded in yourself. So you go from fight or flight state back to the state of safety, social engagement, and relaxation. This process uses neuroplasticity to rewire neural pathways and quiet an overactive brain. The only way I found to quiet my overactive brain was to acknowledge how many wounds I had and actively work on transforming those wounds into wisdom. And here's an example. So the first guy, Tim, in my book, 6 months into us talking, we got into a huge fight and he told me, never talk to me again. Well, a week later, I went for a drive and he lives at a very remote location and with a gate. And I got off the freeway and right back on the freeway in like 3 or 4 seconds. But right when I got off the freeway and went to get back on the freeway, his car pulled up right to the gate. And he had a lot of anxiety and a lot of pain from his mother. So he internalized that I'm stalking him. He's Jewish and speaks Hebrew and knows my ex-husband, called my ex-husband when he was in Israel and said, do I need a restraining order against Carrie? Is Carrie going to break into my house, threaten me and my kids so much that I have to shoot her? I was at home crying that whole week. I don't know how to pray. I have a hard time operating Zoom. How am I going to get over the fence, climb into the house? You know what I mean? Like, it just was, the universe is a mirror. What he saw is a threatening woman. And to him, a threatening woman, would kill his kids. Which, if you kind of dial that back to his childhood, was really challenging. So that same fight showed me he had a fear of all women. I found inside myself about a week later that I had a fear of all men. And I was like, when I saw that, I'm like, a fear all men. I'm like, I fear half of the society. So how much anxiety did I have when I fear half of the society, but I was unaware of it because it was in my subconscious from my childhood trauma. I wasn't ready to acknowledge it yet. But I turned that wound into wisdom. Wisdom is men protect me, in general. And I saw my older daughter the next day. She had a jewelry business that did a lot of markets. So it was a big crowd and I would go there all the time. So she knew how I was in that environment because I was always there with her, on her markets on the weekends. And I arrived, she's like, Mom, she's super intuitive. She's like mommy too. I call her mommy too. Whoops, sorry about that. She's like, Mom, you're different. Like, what happened? I said, I saw in my subconscious that I fear all men. And then I changed it into wisdom and it's just gone. And I walked around and I was calm and I was like doing well. And I'm like, this is great. I had to have that huge fight, kind of acknowledgement of my problems. And then, I surrendered to my problems and I climbed with my next wisdom. And it was that event as well where I finally gave myself permission to rest. And that was in 2021. So I'm 51 years old and I finally gave myself permission to rest. I wonder if anyone here, you want to put in the chat, raise your hand here, if you just don't give yourself enough permission to rest. And rest is not watching TV. It's not engaging outside of yourself. It's shutting off everything outside of yourself, laying in bed like Dr. Joe Dispenza, cut everything outside of yourself and just like meditate and go inward. Okay? And that inwardness is what really helped me. That inwardness really helped me shut off the terrorist in my brain telling me I'm stupid and I'm ignorant and I don't know this and I don't know that. And, all the terror that happened in my brain about, I would say the next year, about 1 year later, that was gone in 2022, which was just a gift. I could finally lay down and not abuse myself constantly in my brain, which is what my 40s were like before. So my 40s, I had like between 4 and 7 migraines per week. I had a hard time getting out of bed. And then my mom passed away on my 45th birthday, and that was the day I was called to heal. But neuroscience is the process in neuroplasticity, and this process allows the brain to stop associating present environments with past dangers. But then there's the mirror as well. Okay, when your nervous system shifts, when you recalibrate your nervous system for love, compassion, and enlightenment instead of fear, guilt, and shame, this is what will happen. Relationships shift, decision-making sharpens, business problems resolve, patterns dissolve, because you are no longer reacting from old wounds. You're not reacting. When you're reactive, you're constantly getting triggered, that's when you're in fight or flight. But I don't get triggered because I have calibrated my nervous system for love, compassion, and enlightenment. So when I encounter a challenge, I have the self-confidence, I have the wherewithal, I know I can get through it. I know my soul is planning my life for me so that I can grow, that it's not planning more than I can handle. I trust myself. What is myself? That's my soul. So epigenetics, Dr. Bruce Lipton, I just love him. So epi means before, and then genetics, signifying what happens before our genetics are triggered. So you know how you can think of a hamburger and your mouth salivates whether a hamburger is there or not? Or you fantasize sexually and you get turned on whether someone is there or not? That's the epi before the genetics, Okay, so the 5D before the 3D, the spiritual before the physical. Femininity surrenders, masculinity acts. The spirituality is the femininity. It teaches that less than 1% of our mental and physical diseases come from our genetics. And the next person, and the next doctor we get to is Dr. Gabor Mate. He's a family medicine practitioner who specializes in how childhood trauma impacts adults and the diseases they get, and this is showing that. So let me share, let's watch Dr. Bruce Lipton's video. Where is he? Okay, he's great.
Whatever picture you hold in your mind, the brain releases complementary chemistry that matches that picture, and it releases it into the body, and the chemistry of the blood is what controls the genes and the behavior. Children, when adopted into a family where there's cancer running in that family, the adopted child will get the same family cancer. But the point, the adopted child has totally different genetics. What was the point? It was being adopted into a family where the programming of that child is what caused the cancer. It's consciousness who releases the chemistry to the environment that controls the genes. And you can change your consciousness, and you can change your environment. And all of a sudden I say, oh my God, we were programmed to be victims. It turns out we are masters of our genetic activity. And this is the new science called epigenetics. Whatever picture...
Yes, as he said, we were programmed to be victims. So, you know, we hear a lot of people blaming other people for their problems. Constantly looking at like, you're selfish and you're racist and you're transphobe and you're all these terrible things, all those ad hominem attacks. Well, the universe is a mirror. So I watch like the show The View. I'm like, those women are all talking about themselves. But because people lack the wisdom and awareness, they don't know this. It's a tell. Everything that comes out of someone's mouth is a tell. Our souls control everything. And our souls are all constantly communicating. Like, you know those videos of dogs getting super excited a couple minutes before the owner comes home every day, and it can be a different time every day? That is the soul, the soul of the dog communicating with the soul of the human, of their owner, because they love them so much. So, oh yay, coming home, yay. You know, it's awesome. Okay, family medicine. I just love Dr. Gabor Mate. He's Jewish too. And he was born in Poland, but I think he lives in Canada now. And he's French Canadian, and he practices family medicine, and he provides a wealth of knowledge on this front of healing from childhood trauma. So when people do not know how to say no to others in order to prioritize their own physiological needs, the body will say no for them in the form of disease, such as cancer or autoimmune disease, or you can't sleep, or all of the physiological diseases are also a mirror showing us that we have problems inside of our soul. And I realized that because I had that subconscious belief that I'm the problem, I always put other people before myself. So I was working from a wound, an inverted love hierarchy. Like the inversion of fear all men is, no, don't fear all men, men protect me in general, okay? So the inversion of I'm the problem is I'm the solution. Right? And so self-love comes first. And love hierarchy is in the 6 divine feminine self-love strategies. But when I realized that when I filled my own cup of love first, and then I created overflow, then I have overflow to pour onto my partner, my children, my family, and my community. So community comes last. But I'd say we have a huge problem in America when we're asking our elementary school kids to go protest ICE as if they're responsible for protesting the federal government. That's teaching children to put community before self. I mean, there's tons of videos of teenagers running across the street, teenagers getting hit, people getting injured because schools are taking their kids to protest. How is that teaching self-love? I mean, how are we teaching reading and writing and math by go protest the federal government? Do adults have a right to children, or do children have a right to healthy adults? And I'm arguing the latter, because what we see a lot today is that adults have a right to children. Like I saw the teacher videotaping the kids running across the street, and then they're going to put that on social media. very difficult as a mother for me to see that. So, family medicine, we're going to connect it to Carl Jung, okay? Loneliness does not come from having no people about one, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself, or from holding certain views that others find inadmissible, and that was my problem in my childhood. I was speaking truths and saying things that other people didn't like, so I was shut down. You know, before I healed, my only memory from kindergarten was playing alone with like some blocks in the classroom. That's not a healthy kindergarten experience. But now I, know that, JC and I had trauma in elementary school, and then my parents got divorced and I left that elementary school, and then I saw him again in high school where he was ASB president. I mean, like Adonis looked like. And I just had to stay away from him because it was dangerous for us to be together. We were both had very traumatic childhoods, and you put that together and there's the abuse, right? So I'm going to play Dr. Gabor Mate, who goes into this a little bit more.
What happens to a child where the attachment need is not compatible with the need for authenticity? In other words, if I'm authentic, my parents will reject me. If I feel what I feel and express what I feel and insist on my own truth, my parents can't handle it. And parents convey those messages unconsciously all the time. Not because they mean to, not because they don't love the child, not because they're not trying to do their best, but because they themselves are suppressed or traumatized or hurt or stressed. And what does the child do with that? Well, if I give up my attachment for the sake of authenticity, I lose my relationships on which my life depends. Therefore, there's no question. What becomes suppressed is our authenticity, our emotions. And then we become 25 and 30 or 35, 40, and we don't know who we are. What happens to a child where
And that is so common these days. So common. But that's childhood trauma. Repress part of yourself so the parents can survive. And you stay attached. But then those are the people with those wounds who don't become emotionally mature. I mean, that's a setup for every kind of addiction you ever knew of. And he has a whole video on that as well that I can share with you if you reach out. Okay, like here's Carl Jung. And here's my favorite quote. This is the quote that got my older daughter to go, okay, Mom, you experienced enlightenment. Fine, I'll give it to you. Because they were arguing with me. Mom, how do you know? Mom. I'm Mom first. One does not become enlightened by imagining beings of light, but by making their darkness conscious. When you imagine beings of light, you're overactive in your brain, and you're focused outside of yourself for solutions. But when you make your darkness conscious, you admit that you have darkness and that it needs to become conscious. And where's that darkness? Inside of yourself. Okay, guys, please mute yourselves if you can. Appreciate that. Thanks. So when you acknowledge that inner authority, when you establish an inner locus of control, your soul, the field of the soul governing agency of the particle, then you can acknowledge, I have darkness here and I need to make it conscious. Here's a wound, and you understand yourself. But when you're constantly looking outside of yourself for answers, those aren't where the answers reside in general. Sure, outside of yourself to learn how to do it, but inside of yourself, to do it on your own. Okay, so here is a quote from my book, and I put this quote on the chapter for Justin and Andrew. And because so many people project onto Andrew. But here's where Andrew could become really useful, and I'll get into that after I read the quote. If you imagine someone who is brave enough to withdraw all of his projections, then you might get an individual who is conscious of a pretty thick shadow. Such a man has saddled himself with new problems and conflicts. He has become a serious problem to himself, as he is now unable to say, they do this or that, or they are wrong and they must be fought against. Such a man knows that whatever is wrong with the world is in himself. And as if he only learns to deal with his own shadow, he has done something real for the world. He has succeeded in shouldering at least an infinitesimal part of the gigantic, unresolved social problems of today. So we all do our part, and we all, as a reincarnation of Mary Magdalene, teaching inner authority, not external authority like Christianity, I am teaching you how we can co-create heaven on earth, because self-love creates heaven on earth. When I project love from my heart, that's what's mirrored back to me. And so when we draw healthy boundaries with ourselves, and the government's doing that now with the whole immigration thing. That's why it's healthy to draw healthy boundaries. And we have so many problems inside of America, like our kids' education system, needs a lot of improvement. A lot, and I experienced that a lot with my kids. My son having mild autism, it was a huge challenge with him. So I think that in regards to Andrew Tate, a lot of women, I hate Andrew, I hate Andrew, I hate Andrew. Okay, but why are they triggered? I had a rape wound and I attracted Andrew into my life. I do not know his case file, okay? But if you're a woman or a man who's triggered by Andrew, then maybe there's some sexual abuse in your past. Maybe there's some other kind of abuse that Andrew's experienced that his soul is showing you is also in your soul. So instead of saying he's the problem, take it as, oh, what problem is he in his life showing inside of me? Like, why am I triggered? And this is one of the reasons I, figured out that when I'm triggered, like triggers are my healing friend and not my healing foe. When I'm triggered, my emotional pain's at the surface. And when I take responsibility for it, then I have an opportunity to turn those wounds into wisdom, right? But when I blame other people for my triggers, cancel culture, then I don't deal with my own crap and I keep attracting in challenging experiences into my life because I don't know how to listen yet. So, and like Carl Jung has a quote, what irritates us most about others leads us to an understanding of ourselves. The universe is a mirror. Okay, so here we're at it. We're going to do Carl Jung's best DIY trauma healing technique, and then we're going to get into more information about the 6 divine feminine self-love strategies. So please grab your mirror, your journal, your pen, and I want you to spend 5 minutes looking in the mirror or in your phone. And I want you to write down what you kind of feel internally. And if it's about someone else, just write it down, because really that's about you. So if you can really focus on yourself, okay, so I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do this. No, I don't have a clock. I'm going to get a clock, but I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
What else is new?
Okay, so let's stop here. And now if you want to put in the chat anything that you'd like to share, because we're going to get into how you can process that through in a second. And I just want to bring up that someone made a comment that I made a comment about what's going on politically in America. And so just so you know, I mention things that my intuition guides me to mention, and it could be to trigger you, to show you that triggers are your healing friend and not your healing foe, because when things are at the surface, then you can process them through. But I'm not going to, I won't get into the political discussion, but just so you know, that's how I operate. Okay, let's keep going and learn how you can transform what you saw in the mirror into wisdom and knowledge. You can recalibrate your nervous system. So with these 6 divine feminine self-love strategies, it's not a belief system, it's a soul operation system. Each strategy addresses a different layer of internal experience and gives you different tools in your toolbox for, processing your emotions, for becoming a more mature, like reparenting yourself and recalibrating your nervous system from your childhood trauma. So when we recalibrate our nervous system, we focus on resonating with love, compassion, and enlightenment instead of fear, guilt, and shame that we learned from our childhood. My parents were constantly projecting fear, guilt, and shame, and so I internalized that because that was my reality directed at me. I was unaware, and I thought I'm the problem, so I shut down. That was my life. Okay, so strategy 1 is appreciate, learn, forgive equals ego death. And so I saw that this is the process I was going through. I'm like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. First, I appreciate that I have there's a chat. I have a challenge. I have a challenge that I can learn from, I can grow from, I can get more knowledge, more wisdom, become more emotionally mature, accomplish something. And appreciation, gratitude in the soul naturally opens the heart, reduces cortisol, reduces inflammation, reduces stress. So now that the heart is open, then you can look inside yourself. So learning the wisdom stored inside of the wound is when you recalibrate your nervous system. When I saw, I fear all men, that's the wound. The wisdom is, men protect me. I changed immediately, and my oldest daughter immediately noticed. It was wonderful. And then what I realized that once I turned the wound into wisdom, then forgiveness of self and others happens naturally. It took a while for me to really get in the groove of this system, but when I accept that my soul plans my life based on my wounds for self-improvement opportunities, and that my soul is planning everything, then I can let go of regret or remorse or all these things, because those hardships, those challenges were there to help me grow. If I didn't have such a traumatic childhood, that I would never have been set up to extract so much wisdom out of my soul to help myself and everybody else. Strategy 2, the love hierarchy. And I'll just share. So one reason I kept everything simple and not complex is I wrote it because of the 2 fire academy instructors. Like, what can firefighters use in the back of a fire truck so that they can, work through their trauma in the fire truck because they're so busy. And I just have such a big heart for first responders, because first responders make up 2% of our population, but they make up 20% of our suicides. And then who finds them? Other first responders. So I have a huge heart for first responders. But the love hierarchy is you put yourself first. When you fill up your own cup of love through your own emotional work, through the rest and eating well and healthy diet and spending time in nature and with family and friends, then you have overflow to pour on your partner, your children, your family, and finally then your community. But when you pour from an empty cup, you pour from lack. What's lack? Fear, guilt, and shame. And then what comes out of us is fear, guilt, and shame. And there's all the ad hominem attacks. Okay, so when you start inverting, when I was working from inverted wisdom, I put community before self. But wisdom says self and then community. And what I mean by loving on yourself is a healthy diet, healthy rest, walking barefoot in nature, spending time with family. I'm not talking about being selfish. I know a lot of people can conflate the two, but that's what I mean about it. And we'll get into more details, how you can, what I'm really recommending on that front. So 3 is learn to surf the waves of life. Okay? Life is like jumping on a trampoline. The deeper you go, the higher you fly based on the laws of physics. The depth of the wound determines the height of the wisdom. Our souls plan our lives based on our wounds for self-improvement opportunities. I think, I'm sorry, I don't have that. Let me pull up that video, because where is it? My laws of physics videos. I apologize, I didn't have this one up. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. This is going to show us how this works.
Hello, I'm Bruce Shane, and today in Homemade Science, I want to go back and revisit the high road, low road track. Now, I did a previous video on this, and I had so many questions and comments, I thought it would be worthwhile to go back and do a few more demonstrations on it and take a closer look. Now, this is a classic physics problem where we have two tracks that start at the same position and end at the same position, but their path from one side to the other is completely different. Now, these balls are able to roll down the tracks, so the question is, if I were to release them simultaneously, which track would get the ball to the opposite side the quickest? Well, let's give it a try. So the shortest distance between 2 points is not necessarily the fastest. Now, what's going on here? Well, we're giving both balls potential energy by lifting them up to a certain position. When I release them, only a small amount of its potential energy is changed into kinetic on this track, so its speed across the track isn't very high. However, on the low road track, I started out at that high position. It drops down, changes that potential energy into kinetic, but then it drops an additional distance, so more potential energy is changed to kinetic, so it's going to cover this distance at a higher speed.
So as you see, when I'm going to call it the surrender, with the surf of the waves of life, you have to surrender, that's the feminine, and the deeper the surrender, the faster the climb. Okay? That's why life is like jumping on a trampoline. The deeper you go, the higher you fly based on the laws of physics. And this is what I finally understood. I had to go so deep into emotional pain to catapult me to enlightenment. Like if you want to climb Mount Everest physically, how much do you have to surrender to finding more self-belief and more self-confidence? Like the preparation process is gnarly, right? Like I've been to Mount Everest. You can see a picture of it on my website. Under the poetry page, there's a picture there, carrieblazer.com. But that was like, wow. And I was like finally able to put like how my soul had planned my life. Like I was left with a box of darkness, a box of emotional pain. I didn't understand that it was a gift. But now that I do, I can look back, oh, that did that, and that prepared me for that. And that, I mean, like, creating wholeness in my heart, in my soul. I don't reject myself. The less I reject myself, the less I hate myself, the more I love myself, the wholer I am, the more complete I am. And so now I'm a much more complete and whole person with a well-regulated nervous system than I was 10 years ago because I did the work, because I accepted that I'm responsible for my pain and I'm not a victim. And my soul, my problem was my parents did not know how to operate their souls. So they did not know how to teach me. And that was also a gift, because then that helped me fulfill my soul's purpose of remembering that I'm the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene, and and all of that soul purpose that brings, So the universe is a mirror, and we've gone over this quite a bit, so I'll go pretty quickly here. But, wisdom says the universe is a mirror showing me myself in every moment as a constant feedback loop for self-improvement. And, the universe is a mirror, but a mirror is a mirror. And the phone camera is a mirror. So every time you need more feedback, pull out your phone, pull out a mirror. I'm going to recommend Reiki in a minute, and Reiki has that kind of visual exercise as well. Knowledge says We attract what we are through energetic resonance, meaning a vibrational match. Like I attracted a lot of players into my life. Men with multiple women. Like the Fire Academy instructors, one was 6'4", looked like Superman. And I didn't go on a date with any of these guys. Like I haven't been on a date in 7 years. And the second one was a 6'7" fire captain. Like did handstands and splits at hot yoga. Like what? Like full head, like silver fox. Like wow. Sexy with grit is what I call him in my book. Understatement for that man. But that was the first time I experienced enlightenment when I was talking to him. But the universe is a mirror. This is how self-awareness forms. You know, we project what we are out through our hearts, out through our vortex, onto the quantum field so that we can see ourselves through energetic resonance. Like, you know, you go see a movie with your best friend. But what your best friend takes away from the movie and what you do are not 100% identical. Why is that? What you're attracted to, based on the wounds and wisdom of your soul, the constitution of your soul, is not identical to the constitution of your best friend's soul. Both are equally valid, but they're specific to you. That's how people say, well, we all create our own reality. That's what I mean. Is the movie, the external reality the same? Sure, it's the same movie. But your experience of it is not identical to your best friend's experience of it. That's how we all create our own reality. Changing the world is an inside job. When you accept that when your soul operates your life, your soul calibrates your nervous system, you know, like Dr. Joe Dispenza said, when you just stop focusing on the outside world and you focus on your consciousness, that's what meditation is. You know, then there's where the changes happen in your nervous system. Then that's where your nervous system gets recalibrated for love, compassion, and enlightenment instead of fear, guilt, and shame. So we live in a holographic universe. Your external reality is a reflection of your internal reality. Like when your house is a mess, are you doing very well? Because I really wasn't. Your external experience is shaped by the wounds and wisdom stored in your nervous system. That's why people ask, where are all the good men? Where are all the good women? Oh, well, you attract not good women into your life. So that's something for you to look into. Or, you know, for the women, you attract not good men in your life. And that's something for you to look into because the universe is a mirror. Change an inside job. Right, okay. Sorry, I got a little lost for a second. But here is the physics principle. Your soul naturally aligns with the highest vibrating energy or emotion. And so that's why people who've experienced enlightenment attract so many people to themselves, because people are naturally attracted to higher vibrating souls, more emotionally mature souls. And we're going to see here in this physics experiment how this works, spontaneous synchronization with 5 metrodones, okay? So wisdom carries a higher frequency than a wound, as we saw. Fear, guilt, and shame is below 100 hertz, facilitating cancer, autoimmune diseases, viruses, bacterias. But when you're routinely vibrating, you know, above that, which I am because I'm in and out of enlightenment on a weekly basis, then, you know, I don't have those illnesses, and I naturally help everyone around me that I'm connected to. Like every enlightenment experience I have, at the end I give like a speech to the collective in my house because I'm talking to all the souls. And I had to like figure that out too. I'm like, why am I yelling in my house? I'm like, and then I realized that all of my attractor energy cells open up in my soul, and the heart attracts. The heart's a magnet. So I attract everyone to me by doing that. You know, the brain goes outward where the heart pulls inward because the vortex is like that, right? And so when I realized that, I'm like, oh, that's amazing how that works. So let's watch this physics experiment and see how it works. You're going to see the 2 metrodome, the second and the third metrodome are the fastest. And within about 1 minute, they all are going that fast speed. So this laws of physics proves it. So I'm like the fastest moving metrodome. When you sync with my wisdom, then I naturally help you recalibrate your nervous system for love, compassion, enlightenment. I naturally help you vibrate higher. So that's the value of, reading my book or using the 6 divine feminine self-love strategies or having a session with me. That's the value of what I can bring to you naturally. The last one. Pain is an initiation process to personal growth. It happens when something challenges you and you're forced to meet yourself honestly. Difficulty isn't punishment, it's what builds resilience. I just read something that someone did a study of all the different cultures, and when men in a certain culture had to go through like a masculine initiation process that was like really challenging, it built that resilience, it built that self-confidence, it calibrated their nervous system to believe in themselves, to love themselves, and to see how capable they are. And that's what produces a healthy masculine man. But when we don't have those kind of initiation processes, then we aren't creating healthy men, like Boy Scouts. My son's an Eagle Scout. Even though he has mild autism, had a very traumatic childhood, this is how capable my son is. He has a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo. He's an Eagle Scout, but because of his challenges at school, he ended up at a special school that was abusive. It was gnarly, but that built resilience, and that's an emotional wound for him, and his gift is he can bring that awareness out. My youngest daughter with an eating disorder, she can bring that awareness out. My older daughter with her, a lot of boyfriends and stuff, she can bring that awareness out, and how difficult that was when she found her guy. She has her soulmate, and I'm so grateful for that. They're a beautiful couple, and I'm just like, but that's very hard for them. Very hard for them. That sexual promiscuity is so encouraged among young women, and young women are more agreeable, and they go try to find a husband, and all the trauma doesn't set them up for success in a long-term relationship. But all of that built her resilience. They've been together 3 years. They're getting married. Beautiful. But that's why we go through challenges in life, because pain is an initiation process to personal growth. Like, I had 35 years of debilitating lower back pain. And some wisdom I pulled out of that wound is pain is beautiful because it reveals what longs to be healed. Pain is beautiful. It's communication. It's your body showing you have something, you have a wound to turn into wisdom. It's communication. Okay, here are my self-care strategies on top of the 6 divine feminine self-love strategies. First, I recommend learning Reiki. On the weekends I went to learn Reiki, I cried and I almost threw up once because I was processing so many emotions. It helped open me, and then I had a way to use Reiki on myself, another like a free strategy, right? On myself as much as I want, on my friends as much as I want. It really helped me open my heart and recalibrate my nervous system. Healthy exercise. I went to hot yoga. Now, I did some a little research about, men and women. Men and women need different exercise. Like, the most testosterone producing, cortisol reducing activity for a man is chopping wood. The most feminine hormone producing, cortisol reducing, stress reducing activities for women are walks and gentle yoga. Men and women are complementary. We're not identical. We're equally necessary, but we're not identical, and our bodies are different. They're just different, like our nervous systems are different. The female nervous system is far more robust than the masculine nervous system. That's why women are designed to be the emotional center of the family and to process emotions. Also, we're the 5D, we're the spiritual connection. Our souls communicate through emotions, emotional center. All of that goes together, right? And then we men go out and provide and protect. And when we acknowledge this, we acknowledge that what women need to be healthy is different than what men need to be healthy. Like, here's an example how different we are neurologically. When men call each other up, hey, you want to have dinner tonight? Yeah, I'll see you at 6. Okay, bye, done. Goes from the back of the brain to the front of the brain, and they misses the whole center of the brain. And that's normal and healthy for men. Women are the opposite. Women go from the back to the center, make all of their connections, because women are connected and then men disconnect. Women deal with birth, men deal with death. We're complementary, we're not the same. So it's natural and normal for a woman to call her friend up, hey, you want to have dinner? Oh, maybe, but I've kind of been on a diet on my hair, on my clothes. 20 minutes later, okay, I'll see you at 6. Normal and healthy. I saw that. I was like, oh, this is why they, typically task men with quick decisions. Because a healthy man doesn't need to make all these connections. He's not designed for it. Women are designed for it. Women are designed to connect that internal work. Like the Cherokee proverb, a woman's highest calling is to connect a man to his soul, internal work, so he can unite with source. And she is source energy from the universe. And a man's highest calling is to protect a woman so she can walk the earth unharmed. And their bodies are designed for that. Let me check the chat. There's a bunch of chats. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I can't read them all right now. I'm going to keep going, but thank you for the chats. I'll read them in a minute. So exercise, like what's best for you? And you can Google it. What's a good exercise for a woman? Okay. Diet. Create a diet that's good for your body. Like if you have a leaky gut, a lot of us have a leaky gut where we're not eating healthy and, we go to the bathroom like number 2 multiple times a day. That's a leaky gut. I've suffered from that my whole life. But there's books out there to heal leaky gut. There's healthier diets to get into. And so, do a deep dive into that for yourself. How can you, have healthier hormones? Because when women have trauma, it pushes them in their masculine and they overproduce testosterone. When men are in trauma, then it pushes them into their emotions and they overproduce feminine hormones, and that brings us out of hormonal balance. But where does that reside? Those wounds are in the soul, and the soul governs the particle, right? So we got to change the soul. Nature, this is super important. This draws me back to the video we saw at the heart is a vortex. So when our energy fields come out of our hearts up and around and back down, we have to connect to the sun and the earth. When we walk barefoot in nature, it naturally reduces inflammation from the free radicals. So take your shoes off, walk on the dirt 3 times a week. Spend time in nature. I'm prescribing nature therapy. That's free too. It's DIY. Okay. And there's tons of research now showing that doctors are prescribing nature therapy because it's more effective than SSRIs. The medications just suppress the emotions. It's a Band-Aid. It's not a solution. Nature is a solution. These are solutions. They aren't Band-Aids. Establish a gratitude practice. This is really important. Gratitude opens your heart and gives you access to your soul and helps you recalibrate your nervous system daily. So even if you spend 1 minute a day being grateful for what you have, and then you can expand that, 2 minutes a day. And then you can, look on YouTube for a gratitude meditation, free, right? Okay, so we have meditation and shamanic drumming. So I have a free video on my YouTube channel, meditation and shamanic drumming. So I wanted to go over what are the benefits of that. And you can use that daily if you want, as much as you want to use it, right? Go from fight or flight to rest and digest. Why digest? Because our digestive tract houses 90% of our mental health. So when we have a leaky gut, we don't have healthy boundaries of self. We're not emotionally healthy. We're overgiving because we don't have healthy boundaries of self. But when we stop overgiving, we have healthy boundaries of self, then we're in rest and digest because we're internally located, not externally located. Fight or flight is you're constantly looking outside of yourself, right? But rest and digest, that's inside of yourself. It took me 5 years to 6 years of healing to get to more rest and digest. It takes time, depending on how traumatic your childhood was. You have improved heart rate variability, emotional regulation. Your heart can go up and down and you don't get triggered. It's good. Low blood pressure, reduced cortisol, which equals less inflammation. When you have overabundance of cortisol in your system, then that keeps sugar in your system, and then that's why you crave sugar, because you're feeding that fight or flight mechanism. You have better emotional stability and cognitive resilience. The drumming benefits. So it's like that 4-beat, boom, 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 boom. That it regulates the nervous system and brings it into coherence. It gives it like the metrodones. It's helping you come to my metrodones, the beat of the drum. And the theta brainwave for creativity and insight, that's like a resting state. It helps you get into that resting state. It opens your heart. It rests you. And then when your heart is open, your soul can communicate to you through visions, through maybe rest, through communication, whatever your soul shows you. So it helps access memory networks to release emotional pain. Right? That's what you want. Those memory networks. Like, I didn't even get to the memory of what happened to JC and me until November and December of 2024. Only like a little over a year ago. And I had to remember being raped and having forced abortions. It's all on my website. And it was gnarly. It was gnarly. Yeah. So it reduces pain and releases, I can't see the bottom there, releases natural opiates. Yeah. And so getting back to Dr. Gabor Mate, when we form a healthy attachment, then our brain releases healthy endorphins, which is an opiate, into the system. But when we're raised in a stressful and traumatic childhood, then those endorphins aren't produced, and that creates an anxious attachment to self or an avoidant attachment to self, and that's not a healthy person. That's not mental health. Okay. Oh, my YouTube channel. Here's my meditation and shamanic drumming video, but my YouTube channel has educational videos, healing tips, some spiritual humor, and I'm putting new stuff out there every day. And as the divine feminine, I focus on both the second coming and also the great purification from Native Americans. So a huge focus of mine is healing Mother Earth and restoring the keystone species, and you can see that on my YouTube channel as well. But that's why that's there, is because last summer and early fall, I accepted that I'm the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. And then in September, I had an enlightenment experience that was the second coming. And that's all on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. On my YouTube channel, yes, and then also on my website. But during that enlightenment experience, I was shown that, I don't know how else to say it, the white man in America, the American government, and the Native Americans have a soul contract. Our souls agreed, because our souls are constantly communicating, planning all of this, right? Agreed to come together and heal in every way that we need to. And so when that came, it was like the first thing that came through, I'm like, okay. But then I realized, that's why I have a second name, Shenandoah. That's why my grandpa had a buffalo head that I always focused on. That's why my kids were always connected to buffalo, because they went to the Channel Islands, I live in Ventura, California, for their 5th grade trip, where they have a herd of bison, and they just loved it and were totally into it. It's like, okay. It's like, the universe is a mirror. Okay, here's the Lakota DIY trauma healing technique that I found recently, and it's just awesome. So John Hopkins did a study on this, comparing talk therapy to this technique. And that I found that this technique resolves trauma 6 times faster than talk therapy. And why? This technique engages the feminine and the masculine. Talk therapy only engages the feminine. It doesn't engage the masculine to act. And if you want coherence, you need wholeness. That's why you got to engage the feminine and the masculine, the communication and the action. Like, journaling engages both, but I say this is better, okay? So you gather stones or something. You can write on paper, you can gather other things. Stones, just one example. Gather a physical object representing the pain. Carry them to the river and release them one by one while speaking the memory out loud into the water. And keep the final stone as a reminder that grief was witnessed, not erased. We're here as souls to be seen and heard, to be witnessed, not suppressed. And we're all here for a purpose. Every soul has a purpose. This is my purpose, but you have an equally important purpose. This is just my job in the collective. You have an equally important job in the collective too. And I hope you find out what that is. But this technique I really like, and I hope that it helps you. And if you need it, more than one time, you might need to do it a few times, and that's okay. But it also, it's also spending time in nature. It's nature therapy, accomplishing multiple things with one event. Okay, so why work with me? I do trauma healing and enlightenment coaching, but it's really the same thing. Because when you learn to surf the waves of life, you're going to start on a small wave, right? Like when you learn to surf, you're not starting on that 70-foot wave off of Portugal. Well, let's call that enlightenment. You're going to start on a longboard on a 1-foot wave, right? Like my first time, I really was like, oh, I've learned how to turn my wounds into wisdom. My youngest daughter, and I had an argument, and she was like 17, and I was unable to apologize, and I was wrong. And so I asked myself, why can't I apologize? And this is what I heard. You believe that if you apologize, your loved ones will leave you. I'm like, that's not logical. Like, fear all men, not logical. Oh, but if I apologize, my loved ones will want to stay. There's the wisdom, right? So I turned that wound into wisdom. I've never had a problem apologizing again. It's like, it just changed me. This is how you change yourself. So you are the summary of the 5 people you surround yourself with, just like we saw the 5 metrodons. So you will benefit from my regular enlightenment experience because I'm that really fast metrodome. You will receive wisdom and knowledge gained from my 10 years of personal healing work. My methods save money in the long run, and you will become independent in your emotional processing, which is what you want as a grown, mature adult with an expanded emotional range. And then you can share that with your kids, with your loved ones, with the community. You can go from there. So what's included in a private session? It's a 2-hour private session, and we do a meditation and shamanic and Reiki drumming, because the drumming is infused with Reiki as well. And then whatever comes out from you, we together, I'll show you how to use these different strategies, the 6 divine feminine self-love strategies and other ways to turn your wounds into wisdom. Because, I needed help too, but what I noticed is that people don't need routine sessions with me. Like one time I gave someone feedback and it took her a year to implement it, and then she came back for more. So this is why I'm offering like one session and then take some time, and then you can always come back for another session. So apply the strategies to your specific internal blocks. So I'm going to show you how to do it, and you'll receive a video recording of your session for ongoing use. The private 2-hour session is worth $2,500. The working with the framework and learning how to apply this, $700, and a video recording, $300. But the price I have for today is $19.97. And I understand that, that's $2,000 for a 2-hour session, but what you're gaining from everything else you're getting from it and the long-term use of what I'm going to give you is why the price is so high, because you do not need to talk to me every week. I will give you other things that you can do with your friends and family that without needing me, and this is how I don't create a dependent relationship with my clients. It's very much come to me only as needed, but it's a weaning off process. And most of you will never need me because you can use all these other free ways to help yourself. And I have a special for military and first responders. They get 4 sessions for $19.97, and the real intention of this is 4 of them for the price of 1 to give them a break because their mental health challenges are so high. So if you'd like to move forward now, if you're ready, use your QR code to purchase. You'll receive next step details immediately after checkout. And let me see, I think we had some oh, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Where are the comments? I don't know how to, okay. But anyway, I'll leave that up for a second. And you can always reach out to me via email if you have any questions. Or also, you can purchase now, but if you're not clear, then there will be an opportunity that you'll receive an email after the webinar to schedule a 15-minute session with me to discuss further. And the question we'll be discussing then is, how can we make this work out perfectly for us both? Like, what more do you need to learn to make your decision, basically? So if you're not ready to purchase yet, it's okay. Like I said, we'll have this 15-minute call. What needs to happen to make this situation work out perfectly for us both? Okay, we'll confirm fit, readiness, whether this approach is right for you. And I'm just coming out, so I haven't started working globally like I know I will. Like, JC is the head of global security at GoDaddy. So, and when I reached out to him and his soul opened up to me, all kinds of world leaders came through. So right now I have time for clients, but I don't know how long that's going to last. So this is not a pressure decision. I've given away a ton of free material so you can do it on your own. But if you really want more help, then please schedule a session with me. So this works for people who value autonomy, efficiency, stability under stress, and self-command. And I'll give you one more chance. If you'd like to purchase a session with me, please use the QR code and schedule with me. Okay? I'll leave that up there for a second. Take a drink of water. And I'm trying to see like the chat, but I don't know how to pull it. I don't know how to pull it down. I'm sorry. I'm like not techie here. I'll get to the chat in a second. Okay. And again, if you like more help from me but don't like a session, then please buy my book. And my book will really kind of show you how I pulled out the wisdom. I go into the psychology, the laws of physics, all of it in the book. And really, especially like women who like to talk amongst each other could really help you. And help the men too, but I would say it could help the women more. And if you felt resonance during this training, it wasn't emotion. That was nervous system level alignment called resonance. That's how you know this is relevant without needing convincing. Do you have resonance with what I'm saying? Then my systems can help you. The 6 Divine Feminine Self-Love Strategies, my YouTube channel, my book, or if you'd like to book a session. So this is the last time I'll put up to book a session, if you'd like one, but there's a possibility to book a session, or, here's the chat. Okay, check in. Let me look. Okay, I haven't done an Audible book yet because I don't have the money for it yet. Oh, thank you for buying the book online. I so appreciate that. Okay, I so appreciate that. Let me go up. Okay, let me go kind of scroll down here a second. Okay. Oh, I'm so glad. The veil is so thin. Oh, I love that. You already know Reiki. It will really help you. Yeah, there'll be a replay. I'm going to send everyone a copy. I'm going to, put it into my program to make a great video, and then you'll get it this week. But I have another video that I did on this on my YouTube channel, but you'll get it in your email this week for sure. And then if you join this week, I do this every Saturday, and it's the same Zoom link. So you can join next Saturday if you want to as well. And, and that could be another free way to come back and, connect with me and have my energy help you. And that's also for free. Yeah, my YouTube channel is called The Divine Feminine, but it's at Carrie Blazer. Okay. And my email is on my website if you need to email them. Okay. Okay. I can't get into the politics. Are we calibrating for love, compassion, and enlightenment when we call the current and lawful practice? Okay, I'm not getting into politics. I brought it up because of the triggering. That's why it happened. Because I don't usually bring up politics in these webinars, but if my intuition has it come out of me, because that will trigger certain souls to see themselves, then I do it. That's why. I do go over some of my political beliefs on my YouTube channel if you'd like to check it out there. Okay, yeah, Reiki. Okay, great. Okay, let me look. Do you think you have a core wound of rejection, abandonment? I avoid letting. Yes, probably. I had a lot of avoidant, abandonment. Huge abandonment wound with JC. Huge. Thank you. Yeah, you can. We're gonna send out a recording. Okay. Oh, yeah, so the vagus nerve is really important for women because it connects our womb to our voice. And if you notice the structure, like our voice box, that structure is the same structure as our womb and our ovaries. That's the thing, we communicate. Like women, that's our kind of final, defense, that's how we communicate who we are, is communication. Men are physical, women are emotional. It comes out of our hearts, through our bowels. Okay, the channel name. Oh, how do I count for other? I know there's a woman in Australia who claims it. Okay, let her claim it. I actually, before I knew she claimed it, I reached out. She was the only kind of person outside of my family that my intuition guided me to reach out to was her. And I put all the signs and synchronicities. So you can look at all, it's not all the signs and synchronicities, but a lot of them are on my website because they keep coming out all of the time. Like the picture on my main website with me kind of smiling with my book. My older daughter is a professional photographer, And last summer, before I had fully accepted that I'm a reincarnation of Mary Magdalene, we did a photo shoot together. And we didn't even plan to go to a river to take some pictures. And at the end, she's like, oh, we got to get a picture with your book because I'm an author. Okay, yeah, the book, great. 2 minutes, took the picture. And the picture with the book was the money shot by far, was the best shot. A few months later, I found out that Mary Magdalene is often painted with a book because she was also a scholar. I'm like, oh, I'm a total nerd, master's degree in Chinese. Like, I lived in the Chinese dictionary room. So that's the thing, I'm living my purpose. This is what my intuition guides me to do of who I am and what I'm doing. So, I can only, do with that. But if you have more questions about that, please reach out via email. Okay. Oh, thank you. Look forward to hearing more. Okay, so let me... is linked more to the material realm than she is. Oh, well, my soul's name is Sophia. So, that's me. But here's the thing. It's challenging that we had to go through all of that. But our souls planned all that so we could see ourselves. And the reason it's happening now is the Mayan tell us that. So the Mayans were really good at their calendar. And they know that time, everything's in a cycle. Everything's cyclical, right? So in 2012, there's all this all over the news. It's the end of the world, end of time. No. End of the Mayan time cycle. No. It was the end of that time cycle, the beginning of a new time cycle. The new time cycle is self-healing. So the time for us all to do this, the time for us all to expand our emotional range only started in 2012. So no one's late. But yeah, I was pissed off too, because the patriarchy, this, that. But when I go inside myself, and I realized that this is the time that it takes for us to see ourselves, understand ourselves, and that all of our souls agreed to all this for all of our benefit, then I stopped getting mad at other people. But it was a long process. So I feel you, I hear you, I've been there, okay? You're welcome. Thank you for all of the appreciation. And yeah, not on Audible yet, but when I start making some money, then I can do that. When do you use the mirror we went and got? We used it in the, you can use it anytime. Anytime you want to get some feedback on yourself, when you look in the mirror, then, oh, I'm selfish, and oh, I'm this, and oh, I'm that. That's when you know what you have to work on. Okay. Right, they say that Mary was the 13th apostle, but I'm arguing that Jesus had a wife, and that all of that was repressed. Because when the Council of Nicaea in the 4th century established Christianity, they only accepted 4 of the 17 Gospels, and then the rest were burned because they were establishing nation states. And early Christians went for inner authority and enlightenment. Well, that's not Christianity. They had outward authority. God's in charge. The cross is the only ladder to heaven. You have to go to the church to experience compassion and nurturing. And so they were kind of institutionalizing femininity. But what I see, from what Jesus and Mary was, they crucified Jesus on the Sabbath, which is the feminine time in Judaism, in front of Mary Magdalene. And then she was also the one, 3 days later for the resurrection, right? She was there. He was kissing her. There's a lot of text if you do the research. So, it's my contention that they were married. And rabbis typically got married, and Jesus was a rabbi. So, fighting, and there's some textual evidence now. There's even a gospel of Jesus' wife referencing Mary Magdalene. But it's hard because so many texts were destroyed. Yeah, and so one of the things, right after I reached out to Jason in the fall of 2024, I heard, and this was before the Mary Magdalene thing came up, I heard that I'm downloading hoe, like a whore, they made Mary Magdalene a whore in the 6th century, to housewife trauma healing. And I didn't know what that was, but that's one of the symptoms, one of the signs, right? You never condone putting children in for profit detention centers or bring them away. I'm sorry, Mary Magdalene, you're going to say, Mary, how can you speak for Mary Magdalene? That's a projection. You're not me. You're not my soul. Okay? I think, here's a projection like the Carl Jung quote with Justin and Andrew, completely inappropriate. I'm going to keep going. That's a belief. That's not proven fact. No, he never married, and, that's not proven fact. You're out. Okay. I don't speak for Mary Magdalene. My soul is the divine feminine. My soul is Sophia. So anyway, those are the end of the questions. So I'm going to keep going. And that's the end of the presentation. Does anyone have any more questions for me? I'm going to stop sharing. I'd be happy to answer any more questions. Oh, that's me. Is it hard to make friends and connect socially? For sure. I'm going to pull up a picture from my website and show you like what I felt like most of my life. Okay? Let me share my screen again. Okay. All right. Because this just, a picture speaks 1,000 words, right? This is the picture. So this is the origin story. We can come and say, all the signs and synchronicities that I had at that point. This was last fall. There I am as a child. But it's this picture. So this statue is a statue of a grieving parent. And I resonated with that statue deeply before I knew I had forced abortions as a teenager. And the whole heart is missing. So when my whole heart is missing, how do I have anything to connect with? How do I have anything to establish a relationship with? How do I have anything healthy to offer? I don't, because my heart is just destroyed. It's just rejected. That's how I felt most of my life. So I completely understand the hard time that it is, that lonely feeling. It's that, like what was it, the Carl Jung quote? One does not feel loneliness because one has no one about them. One feels loneliness because they're unable to communicate what's important to them. That's why we feel lonely. And so when we, like the Lakota, we gather the stones, we connect with nature, we speak our truth, and we act on it, and we witness our truth, and remember one, then there's no loneliness because we were true to ourselves. Yeah, I know, isn't always accepted, yeah. So I would say, this empty, I would say you probably, do you resonate with your heart's gone because you hurt so much from not understanding how to love yourself. So, but that's where I would really recommend the Lakota exercise for you, walking barefoot in nature therapy, okay? Love some nature therapy. Yeah, the book is on Amazon. Do you want me to bring up you look up Carrie Blazer, I can bring up the QR code if you'd like. Let me know if you need the QR code, but thank you for buying the book. I appreciate that a lot. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're all here to help each other. I'm not perfect. I'm not claiming perfection. I still have tons of wounds in my shadow that I can turn into wisdom. And so if you can help me, then that's great. I'm not over here being right. I'm sharing what has worked for me. Oh, yeah, no, you have autism. And my son, yeah, I totally understand that with my son. My son's mild, but I understand the directness, and a lot of people don't understand that. Oh, you're the reincarnation too. Okay, great. You're Lakota and the reincarnation. Okay, great. Yeah. So I don't say I speak for her because I say that to show who I am and what I've shown that I am. But yeah, so I would love to connect with you regarding restoring the keystone species and the great purification, and kind of connecting what I was shown in my enlightenment experience, that to connect the Native Americans with the American government. Victoria, let me know. I'd love to connect with you. That'd be awesome. Thank you for the flowers. Oh, I love that. Right, I love that. Oh. Any other? Dana, the Lakota practice is basically you go in nature, you collect stones, and you throw the stones into the river while you're communicating your painful memories. And you throw 6 stones and you keep the last one for yourself. And then when you do that, you're engaging both your feminine and your masculine, creating wholeness and heart coherence, regulating your nervous system for love, compassion, and enlightenment. So I recommend that practice. Anybody other questions I'd love to answer? Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you for all the appreciation, the questions, buying the book. You know, if you schedule a session, I'd love to see you there. Oh, it doesn't have to be a river. You know, it doesn't. It could be a lake. It could be, just engaging the feminine and the masculine, the communication and the action. So you can do that in various ways, for sure. But when you engage both sides, it's so powerful. Like for men, if they have emotional pain, when they chop wood, talk, right? Or when women are acting, talk as well, communicate. Engage both sides of the nervous system. Okay, did that work for you, throwing rocks at the railroad track? Okay, more questions? I don't want to cut anyone off. If you have more questions for me, love to answer them. That, great. So you walked, but what about the communication? So I think you were acting, but communicating. I think maybe that was the feminine you were missing. What do you think? Oh, that was therapy. Okay, great. If it worked, great. Sometimes I have to go to a walk to think through things, and I just talk to myself like internally, and then I come home much better. So if that works for you, like the lightning storm is like moving a ton of energy. Oh, okay, great. Get it out. Like, yeah, awesome. If that works, keep doing it because everyone's different. Right? Exactly. And that helped her, right? She got her emotions out. She acknowledged she was in pain and she got them out in a healthy way without physically hurting anybody else, right? It was awesome. Go, Jenny. Yeah. And then I think she was yelling at the house too. And that's what really works is the combining the feminine and the masculine and heart coherence. Oh, that totally would. I love that. Are you a painter? Are you an artist? Because that'll really bring out your heart. Oh, I love that. Wonderful. More questions? I love the questions. I went home all day long alone. Like I was like, oh, cool, the webinar's coming. I can talk to people. So the fire captain was married, okay? But the universe is a mirror, right? Showing me I had to process wounds from my marriage and, forgive myself for my incapacity for forgiveness. I didn't have a capacity for forgiveness because my femininity was shut down. And so that led to the destruction of my relationships. I did not know how to stay in my healthy feminine lane. So I attracted men who did not know how to stay in their healthy masculine lane and then were, all over the place in a mess and end up divorced. More questions? No? Oh, okay. Fastest way to start loving yourself. I'd say walk barefoot in nature. Walk barefoot in nature. That could be in the grass outside or gratitude practice. I'd say those are the 2 ways. Gratitude practice and walk barefoot in nature. Because maybe like my friend lives in the snow, so she can't, it's kind of hard to walk barefoot in nature. Yeah, right. Oh, so you're still together. Okay. Are you still together 18 years? But if you're not, the universe is a mirror, you saying you're not here to rescue him. Are you here to rescue yourself? Oh, great. Great. Oh, you got so much snow. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, she sent me because I'm in Ventura, California. It's in the beach and half an hour south of Santa Barbara. Like there's, little snow in the mountains, but I love the snow. Oh, he was very tolerant. Okay. That's great. More questions? Anybody else? Ooh, that's hard. But, if you have any questions, schedule the 15-minute, and then my email's on my website, carrieblazer.com. Or, I'm on Instagram, Carrie Blazer Official. Questions? You're so welcome. Thank you so much for your gratitude. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. I think I'm going to close it if there's not any other questions. But again, if you want to come back next Saturday, you can come back next Saturday if you like. Get some more time, my energy. It will help open you. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. So being in my energy helps open you. So if you find that positive, come listen again next Saturday. But I will send you all out a recording. And yeah. All right. Take care. Bye.